Hello everyone, welcome to another Technique Tuesday. I'm Lisa Fulford and I'm going to be your creative coach today. We're going to create this magical card using DSPs and vellum. So it's a lot of fun. It doesn't take very much to make it, so it's a quick card. And we're going to be using the Bloom Impression DSP in the background. And we're also going to be using the Beautiful Butterflies bundle. And if you don't own that bundle, then grab the supplies that you already have. And so I'm certain that you've got a embossing folder and you got some DSP. And so if you grab those, then you could create a card with the supplies that you have on hand. But if you would want to have these supplies, then I would be honored if I could be your demonstrator. I would love to earn your business. So let's get started with this. I am doing a card base that is 4 1/4 by 11 and it's scored at 5 1/2. And then each one of these layers are 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And then we have this beautiful little sentiment right here. It did not take much, so I'm going to lay that right there. And then I'll bring in all the bits and pieces. So I have the card base here. I have a piece of white here, and I'll explain why. And I have some vellum. We no longer sell the vellum, but you can get this at a crafting box store and maybe like Walmart, Myers, places like that. I'm not certain. This is just scrap that I'm using for my sentiment. And I have this piece of post-it tape or score tape on there. I'll have to try to get that off there because I think I can use that bit. And then for our paper, I'm going to try a different color. And this is out of that Bloom Impressions. So we have this side and we have this side. So I'm not really certain which side I'm going to go with. But once I get my vellum piece, then I can decide. Oops. It's a great technique. So if it's really busy. And so this one is really busy. But I'm not certain if it might not be too busy because it's like really tight areas that it's real busy. So that's the reason I kind of chose a little bit more muted down. But this is a perfect technique. I guess it's the magical vellum technique. I don't really know. But anyway, it's just a lot of fun to create. And then for the inside, like this other one, I have a remainder strip, and so that can be for the inside. Let's see, do I have everything? I have some embossing powder, VersaMark ink, and this is the bundle that I'm talking about. It's the Beautiful Butterflies. We're going to be using the Happy Birthday. I can always use Happy Birthdays. And then we have this fabulous embossing folder here, and it's a 3D one. But what's really cool about this one is that you can open this one up. Oops, that's the dies. I mean the stamps. I'm going to move that. These are the dies that go with this embossing folder. Let's see. And so you can use this to put inside here and to lock it in place like that. Put your cardstock in there and it will emboss everything and cut that butterfly out of the center. But see, it holds right there. It locks in place. But we're not going to do that today. We're just going to use it as a regular embossing folder. We might at a later time take care of, trying that out. And now I had one in the past that it did the same thing and I loved it. And then we also have another one that is the hybrid like this, and it's the hibiscus, I think. And I made an anniversary card with it, and it was gorgeous. So I have not made a video on that yet, but hopefully I will soon. So I have our bits and pieces here. I'll move this just a little bit more off to the side. I want you to still be able to see it, but not have it get squished with the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. So I'm going to move everything off to the side. So I told you there was a reason for this card stock. So I'm going to layer that behind my vellum. Okay. And then I'm going to put my paper in like this. And you can go up, you can go down, just however you want. I do try to get it fairly straight. So I'm going to leave that like that for now. I'm going to grab my emboss machine. Had it right here nearby. Make that stay together. And I'm going to bring it in like this, maybe. All right. So we need platform number 1. We're going to need the embossing folder, and you always put it hinge side in first. So I'm going to put that there. Then I need platform number 4. This is for the 3D embossing folders to make it thick enough to not have to use a cutting plate. So I'm going to hold this gently, hopefully not shake the camera too awfully much. Okay, now I'm going to come back. Use my arm a little bit so it won't shoot out of the machine. There we go. We'll need that again here in a little bit. So you have this piece and you have this piece because it did them both at the same time. And what it did was it embossed it, but it also kept from vellum is fragile, and a lot of times it will cut around the little images, not completely, but it will break the fiber and cause it to crack around that opening. But you get a bonus because you can use this on a card. You could use some alcohol markers, or you could use our chalk, use a finger dauber and put chalk on it. You could do multiple different things with this, so I might do a video on what to do with this piece also. I don't know yet. We'll have to see. So this is the back side. This side is, this is a little rough, and you can feel this. So this is the front. This is going into the vellum, and this is raising up out. So that's your front. So that's why I had that extra piece. All right, so now that I'll want to decide, do I want it with this pink, or do I want it with this pink? And then also know that if we raise it up, see, if it's laying on there, it kind of loses into the background. If we hold it away from there, like if it's on dimensionals, then you can see it a little bit better. All right, so I'm going to use dimensionals and try to strategically put them, and I'm going to use the minis so that it will stick to the DSP, but it won't necessarily show through the vellum with our other elements. Okay, so I just need something to tack it down to the DSP. I'm going to have to remove these backings. I'm going to show you a little trick on how to hide these also. I moved my trash can a little farther away because I kept knocking things into it. I knocked some of my blending brushes and all kinds of stuff down into it. Okay, so I'm going to put it on the table so that the bottom can be lined up. And I'm trying to line up my edges. No. I don't want it to stick until I press it. So it's a little bit more difficult because they're the exact same size. And you have to be careful. There we go. And so you can still see the butterfly even with that paper. All right. Now I need to bring this in and see if it will straighten my card base up. And I believe I told you the size. It's 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5 1/2. And it's not quite, I don't know if I use my scoreboard on this or not. I have a, whoops, I have a bunch of card bases made up from when, if I make a card, I always do 2 bases, but sometimes I'm only making 1 card. All right, there we go. And we're going to adhere this down. I think I'm going to use glue. I used Stampin' Seal last time, but once it sticks, it's there. And with the Tombow glue, everybody calls it green glue, you have a little bit of wiggle room. Okay, I didn't get my sleeve in the glue. All right, so it's opening this way. I want to make certain my butterfly is right side up. I'll put this down on the counter like I did before. Line up the hinge edge first because you don't want it to overlap there. You want it to be lined up there because you can trim it away on this end if we need to. Open this up. There's just a sliver of it showing. And I don't think we can cut that on the cutting board, so I'm just going to take my scissors and use the edge of my card base as the guide to be able to trim a straight line. I'm cutting the paper and the vellum and trying not to cut the card base. There we go. That's really cute. Do not know why it's curling all of a sudden. Yep, I put it on there right. All right, so now then, I'm going to use the Riverside Irregular Pearls. They're absolutely beautiful. And I'm going to add them to where the dimensionals are. And I'm using the larger ones. That way it comes more to covering. But because this background has some white in it, then it's forgiving with those dimensionals. Let's hover over the top, press it down. So there are ways to hide go. Got one more of the large ones. But because they're all scattered out, trying to hide those dimensionals behind there, I came along with the smaller ones and tried to, whoops, we have to move that one. They look blue, they look pink. Put it right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we usually try to do odd amounts. It's supposed to be more appealing. That one I didn't quite get over that. And so there we go. There's that. We can always add more later. That's mainly our card base, and I'm not real certain as to why this is still raising up. I'm looking for my silicone mat. Ah. I'll put just a smidge right here. I have this finger daughter. I've put vellum on with this before also. And I've had this for several years. It only has glue on it. It looks kind of yucky, but the glue starts drying and it gets real tacky. So I'm going to lift this up. I'm just going to dab that behind there. Just on these corners. But if you do it this way, it fans it out enough that you do not see it. But it'll hold those corners down. That's a little tip for you, a little trick. Oh. I had just enough, but I didn't. Whoops, wrong thing. There we go. And so it still is raised up so you can see the butterfly, but then those corners are tacked down so they won't keep curling. So there, that's a little quick tip for you. And then I keep this in an airtight container. I'm going to keep it sealed so that if I ever need it again, it's not completely hard. I'm going to let this dry and then I can just peel it off. All right, so now then to our next phase is we're going to do our embossing and get our sentiment on, and then we will be finished. Fill this off here. Now I'm going to do more than one sentiment. I have learned that you might as well do more than one so that later if you need one, you're ahead of the game. So I'm going to take my happy. There's another little trick I'm going to do to make this happy work. Try not to get my head in here, but line that up there. There. Down there. That should be 3. I don't think I can get another one. Then we'll bring my embossing powder. Whoops, my corner came up. Set that on there for now. So I'm going to take my embossing powder. This is from where I did the last one. I'll start on this end. And I should have probably used the embossing buddy on it, but I think it'll be fine. Oh, so anyway, I did remember to do it last time. Set this right here in the middle and try to get as much of it to go in the jar as it can. All right, so I have this little brush, and it's one that I got. It's in my craft stash. I find I can control it a little bit better. And so if I find any strays, like right here, so I should have used the embossing buddy, but I didn't. It makes it, so I just took that T off, not to worry. Just put it right back on there. Just kind of the loose stuff I can get right between letters. This little D has something in the middle. Same way with this one. Must be the stamp because the other one did the same thing. Okay, so it looks pretty good. I'll put that all back in later. So make certain I get any loose stuff off. And I've got my heat tool here. And you put it on setting number 2. There's a 1 and a 2, and I always use 2. And then you let it run for a few moments before you start trying to heat emboss. Starting to melt. And if you go from behind, it helps to raise it up off the paper. So we have 3 of the happy birthday. There we go, you can see it that way. And I'm going to let it cool for a moment. And while that's cooling, put my embossing powder, hopefully back in the jar. some white things in here. There we go. Got it. Like 3 of them in there. They were chunky. I sat it over on the table so that it would not get blown out with the heat gun and melted everywhere. All right, so now we're going to bring in, I'll move that. Oh. It's still coming up. Got a little bit on the silicone mat. I'm just going to come up under here, tap it. And now put the block on it, and maybe that'll hold it. Then I'll have less to rub off that silicone mat now. So I find little tricks and tips to make my life easier. Okay, so I'm going to open this up and bring in number 2, number 3, and another number 3. It's just a different color so that my class knows that it is not a cutting plate when I have my in-person classes. All right, so this is larger than what I need it to be. The die cut is, or the little die cut. I don't need it to be that long. Okay. So I'm coming in where the H is. I'm trying to center it. And I'm going to use my tape. Okay. I'm going to rotate it. Whoops. I meant to rotate the whole thing. That's an odd angle for me, but I don't want it to go straight like this because then it'll bow it. And so I want it to go through at an angle, but I have to watch my angle because of the rest of it. So that looks fairly good and fairly straight. So stick to the plate this time, hopefully. Put this other plate on top. Press it down and try not to move any of it. Crank it through. That sound is fine. It's not breaking anything. Whoops. So there's one happy birthday. And I'll trim one end off. So now this one here, I want to do my best to center it because I don't know if I want to cut it off or not. Because I don't know what I'm going to be doing with this happy birthday. I just want to go ahead and prep. So what I do now, I won't have to do later. Up. So go through, not move everything. Sorry for the shaking of the camera. I used to have a table that you could run into it and it would not shake the camera. It was solid. But this one here is a stand at desk, and it's a glass top, and if you bump it or anything, it shakes. I really like my other one, but I really like this one for the other features. So, just learn to live with what you have and decide what is best for you. If you have sciatica pain or anything, a standing desk is awesome. Sitting can be hard on your body, and it seems like I sit a lot. Doing paperwork, doing my cards, you name it. I do get up and exercise every so often. That's just been recently. Didn't think I had time for it before. All right, so here's this one. And also this one. And this die is from that beautiful butterfly bundle. I think I forgot to say that. Oh, sorry. And we're almost finished. All right, so I need to decide where I want to put my birthday wishes. So I think I'll put it in about the same place I did the other one. Yeah, I think I'm going to put it down here. So I'm going to take my scissors. Wait a minute. This one I didn't get cut very straight, so I'm going to bring this little gem in. Line it up here. Hold this plastic thing down. This is a little paper cutter. I don't know if it was for like demonstrators or what, but I got one of them and I really like it. I just wish it was, you know, 5.5 or 6 inches, wider and a little bit longer, so you could cut a few more things with it, like a card front. It's very hard to cut a card front with that. These items I'm going to put, I have a little container that I put extra things like this in, so I'll put it over there. Bring in my dimensionals. Put this here. There. And because this is a 3D embossing folder, it is really raised up, so I'm using 3 dimensionals to make certain that it attaches well and that I do not lose it off there. I do not know where that cat hair is coming from. I don't have a cat. I haven't had for a couple years. Okay. Put that there. Pick it up. A little crooked, so raise it up. So there's that. Now we have this piece for the inside. I'm pretty certain that I had this showing. Just leave a little border here. And then on the inside, you can stamp what it is that you want to say. But I always wait until I know who I'm giving the card to. That way I'll know what I want to put on the inside. So that is my Technique Tuesday. It's kind of like a magical way of using vellum. It also tones down your DSP, so it's not quite as bright. And so I think it makes for adorable cards. Look at that. Just a little hint of a butterfly on top of the floral. And this one here is absolutely gorgeous as well. And these little pieces, they pick up what color. So they look pink and purple with a little bit of blue. These look more pink and aqua. So it's just, however, whatever color it's with, it seems like it picks that type of color up. So I hope that you just love these cards as much as I do. And I hope you enjoyed today's Technique Tuesday. I hope to see you again soon. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel and give me a thumbs up. I greatly appreciate it. And I love hearing from you all in the comments. I have a few people that comment on most of my videos, and I greatly appreciate that, and I love getting to know them. So I want to thank you all for joining me, and until next time, happy stamping. Bye-bye.